Hurrah! Thank you so much. I really appreciate that warm welcome and right back at you. Absolutely. I think that, when women work together, there's such almost like a dichotomy, or people want there to be a dichotomy, kind of together when we are working. Yeah, it can be challenging. And there can be times when we think, but there are also moments of absolute genius and moments of complete sisterhood. And I think the best thing about women working together is we're not afraid to challenge each other. And we're not
Ooh.
afraid to support each other, love each other, hold each other up, and tell each other how amazing we are. So I'm super happy to be here, happy to be talking about identity. Thank you. And I can most certainly say that you are one of my dearest friends, and I love you so much.
Aw, right back at you. Right back at you. So before we dive into the meat and potatoes of what our conversation is about, I wanted to just give you an opportunity to introduce yourself to the community. I know there are a lot of women in here who already know you because Dawn and I met through Unleash Her Power Within. We met in the community, and then we had the incredible opportunity to serve alongside one another as senior mentors for the UHBW community. And it was such a beautiful opportunity for us to get to know each other. However, sometimes I think you get to know each other people and you see them on screen, or you see, them doing certain things, but you don't actually get to know them as a person. So Dawn, I just want to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself as, who is Dawn Taylor? And I'm just going to leave that big question out there and let you answer it however you see fit.
I think Dawn Taylor is a work in progress. Dawn Taylor is
Mm.
constantly evolving and loves that. You know, Evolution is not instability. Evolution is not being skittish or insecure or unable to make a commitment. Evolution is enjoying experiences and allowing those experiences to drive who we are. And ultimately, I once was really so heavily defined by what I did.
Mm.
And that very much was my badge of honor. And ultimately, the growth that I've seen since then, in terms of understanding that we don't just stay in one place. Life is not a series of chapters already written for us as women, and then it's done.
Mm.
Actually, we get to write each chapter. We get to evolve through each chapter. So Dawn is very much a work in progress and will continue to be. I know that sounds like I'm sort of trying to avoid the question, and I'm
Yeah.
seriously not.
Okay, well, that's so funny that you'd say that because, as you know, I'm an attorney and I don't let people avoid the question. So I'm going to ask you a follow up. So when you said I was very much defined by what I did, not who I am, I want you to tell the community, tell the world what it is you do in terms of how do you make your living? What is your passion? Because it's important that women hear this. I know there's somebody out there that can relate and say, yeah, I'm a corporate executive, and I really, that if I didn't have that, I would be lost. Or I'm a stay-at-home mom, and if I had for some reason to go back to work, I don't know who I would be. I've been on both ends of the spectrum. And what is also true is what we do is a really big part of the life that we're creating. So Dawn Taylor's a work in progress. Thank God, because if you showed up on this podcast and be like, girl, got it all figured out, you'd be pretty unrelatable. However, I want people to understand what you do because it's part of what fascinates me about you, honestly. And what you're doing in the world is really beautiful and important. So tell us a little bit about what it is you do, call it, for a living.
Okay, so I work in education and I work with schools, and I have done for 25 years. And education for me is the key to everything in life. So I've been so privileged to work in schools within the UK. and I continue to do so. But I also work with schools in India as well, and I'm very blessed to do that. So I am very much an advocate of opportunity, the opportunity to learn, to have a standard and a quality of education that allows us to access whatever it is that we need to grow into our true and authentic selves. And that's how I ended up establishing personal mastery, was that I learned that what I was doing with young adults, with children in schools, working as part of those teams, actually as women, in particular women of my age, we still need that. We still
Mm.
need that guidance, that support, that community that is offered to us when we're younger through education. And that's what I loved about UHPW when we met. You know, the program that we were a part of, the original UHPW program, was a cognitive explosion. And what I mean by that is, I mean that it made so much sense in regards to who we were and how we were starting to explore our identities, why it was we did and said what we did, and how we could start to shift that
Mhm.
or embrace it and enjoy it more. So, education is what I do, and I'm so super proud of that.
Okay, so you said so many important things there, and I'm trying to decide which one I want to explore more. But I think I want to explore the interrelationship between the passion you have for education and opportunity, and how that led you to not only doing identity work for you, but then creating personal mastery. But I don't want to get too far ahead because we haven't even introduced personal mastery. So before I go to that exploration, I want to just briefly explain to the community how Dawn and I have come to even be on this podcast and why this is so important. As you know, if you listen to me for any amount of time, I've created, now you'll get to find out alongside Dawn, a mastermind called Who Are You Really? Where we explore the 5 phases of identity creation. Dawn is creating and has created and has already run a beautiful sister mastermind called Personal Mastery. And what Dawn and I have become so passionate about is the impact that the work we started through the beautiful UHPW, Unleash Your Power Within, and then continue to carry on in our own lives and missions. And so we both have these beautiful programs, but as you can tell, Dawn's got a beautiful accent. So she's running her program in the European continent. And we'll get into more of that a little bit later. But when she mentioned personal mastery, I just thought it was really important to pull back a little bit of the curtain on that and explain, like, what does that mean and why is that important? So, Dawn, the question I have for you in regards to your passion for education is what was it or what is it about you working with children and young adults that has created a passion in you for identity work with women, actual adult women? Like, what do you think it is that stirred that up in you? What did you see? What pain did you want to address? And kind of what tipped it into you're like, okay, I've got to do more of this.
I think that what happens when we're younger is we have those opportunities to explore who we are. We're almost given permission by society, and as our children should be,
Mm.
to be who they want to be. But it's almost like that stops as we get into our 30s and 40s as women. It's almost like, well, okay, then, so that was your run at it, and now that
Mm.
run is over, and kind of like, now just run along quietly, just
Mm.
just just run along quietly. And so that joy, that satisfaction, that growth that is experienced in childhood, that made me so passionate about education and want to support that and want to be a part of that, stops for us. And so when
Mm.
I hit that age and I have not had children, I have not been married, all of a sudden I found myself in that zone. And I
Mm.
was not going to subscribe to the fact that I had my lot and I had my alleged opportunities and chances, et cetera, because I don't believe that's true. I believe that we are constantly in a period of opportunity and growth, and therefore I just thought, why does it stop? And I was very much inspired by UHPW because they were teachings, and those teachings made sense.
Mhm.
Patterns, belief systems, values, absolutely correct. And then the more that we delved into it, the more and more KK was not the only voice. UHPW was not the only voice saying those things.
Mhm.
Actually, there was a whole movement, and there is a movement. And so that's where it came from. It came from me wanting to reproduce that amazing opportunity and growth that children have for us as women, because we deserve it and we should have it.
Okay, so many important nuggets there. First of all, the word that stuck out to me is exploration, and I would add to that curiosity. Because I just finished Update with Destiny in December, and one of my top values that I'm really embracing in this year ahead is the value of curiosity. It's that engaging with life. It's that dancing with life's complexities, and like you said, exploration. And you're right. So often when we leave childhood, those ready-made opportunities to explore and change and grow and inquire, they they tend to dissipate if we're not intentional.
Mm.
And what started for us in Unleash Her Power Within, and it's grown throughout for both of us throughout different programs we've taken in Tony Robbins and in other amazing thought leaders, is life is a continuum of growth and challenge and change and inquiry and
Yeah,
consideration. And here's what's amazing. Like, this is one of the multitude of reasons why Donnie and I work as a friendship and as a collaboration. Is I created Girl Out of Order because I woke up one day and I said, this can't be all there is.
yeah,
This can't be all there is. This playing small, being stuck, putting myself in a box I was never designed for, saying, well, I guess I had my run at it. I believe you said, like, I said, not another day, not another hour, not another minute. I'm creating Girl Out of Order because women deserve to live a life where not fitting into these boxes is the perfect fit for them. And I'm
yeah,
hearing you say that same thing, like, as I'm going through life, like, I didn't check the box of being married. Well, that's not a box I was designed to check necessarily, at least not at this phase. I didn't check the box of having children. That's not a box I was designed. Am I broken? Am I done? Is that not enough? Like, am I lesser than? And what I've loved about getting to know you and your mission and your passion for personal mastery is you said the same thing. Not another day, not another hour, not another minute. I deserve a vibrant life. I deserve
yeah,
to create a compelling life. But the key word, and I want you to drill down on this, is designing.
yeah. And
Designing. What does that mean to you when you think about designing that life?
well, I think it's definitely about being intentional, because when, we are in that growth phase as we're younger, we're very intentional about what we do because we don't see an end. We're just, if I do this, I move forward. And if I do this, I move forward. And as we get into this next phase of our life, it's almost like, well, I designed this and now I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, we're is here for a start off. And with intention, we can move to wherever we need to be or wherever we want to be. Look, the internet has created an opportunity for a global community that is beyond any reach that we could
Mm.
have ever comprehended as young people. And taking advantage of that for me is my moral obligation. And what do I mean by that? I
Okay, can you
mean,
just pause for a second? I don't want to interrupt you, but I have to because I don't want to lose this. taking advantage of a global community to reach people is a moral obligation.
Yeah.
Sisters, that's our empowereds for this episode. Taking advantage of the global community available to me because of the internet is my moral obligation. Again, I know you're going to get back to where you are because you're so organized in your thoughts, but me being me, I have to highlight that because I don't want it to get lost in this conversation. Because were it not for this global community, there's so much that breaks my heart about what happened in COVID. And there's so many strangely wrapped gifts that came out of that mandatory pause, that came
Yes.
out of that COVID, because were it not for COVID, I would not know you, my beautiful friend. We would not be in community. We would not have had you, HPW. We would not be creating this mastery and this personal mastery and the Who Are You Really Mastermind. We would not be doing this important work on the scale that we're being able to do it because of
Yeah.
that. So anyway, I'm sorry. I just want to highlight that because it is
No.
so beautiful.
But it's about the fact that as women, now there is an opportunity for us to access knowledge, the development of skills, community, support, guidance, resource that primarily before the internet or before a level of understanding of how we could use the internet was not available. And whether it's
Mhm.
because people are married, financially unable to access, geographically unable to access, but there were so many barriers there, and now there isn't. And if it wasn't for the it's not to do with COVID, because I know it's a very difficult conversation to have because nobody wants to take anything joyful from that situation. However, if it wasn't for me being able to see that there was a community of women out there who would connect with me, who would grow with me, who felt
Mhm.
like me, who had language that allowed me to access emotions and process information and be a part of community, kind of like I said, it's now our moral obligation to create, to develop, to support, to grow, but never to own the
Mm.
system.
Yeah, no, I love that. And this isn't a COVID conversation.
No,
But
absolutely
what's
not.
instructive about our conversation in relation to what happened during the pandemic is that you can find and celebrate and
Mm,
elevate beautiful things even out of tragic things.
yeah,
And that's part of the identity work that we do. Because at Girl
yeah,
Out of Order, when you are dismantling those expectations and you are stepping into your power, that's why our first pillar is cultivating bravery. It takes courage to step out of those constraints that have sometimes been the boundaries that have kept you feeling safe, when in
yeah,
reality it's kept you stuck. And you can also honor those boundaries, honor those expectations, because there's beauty and things that have happened. Like, we don't want to look back on our lives, Dawn. And I know you know this, but I'm saying this for our community. We don't want to look back on experiences in our lives and only say, that was horrific, that was tragic, that was horrible. I can't possibly find a single gift in it. If we
yeah,
move through life like that, we're going to find that. But if we move through life and we move through this identity creation and the work that you and I do with women, and we seek out the gifts, even if we have to look really, really hard sometimes, the gifts are there. And that changes and transforms our experience of the thing. And
yeah,
that's what I love about this work.
yeah. Yeah, it's true. It's true. I mean, I've seen you grow, over the time that I've known you, and it's been a good few years now, and I know that you've witnessed the same for me. And it's just an incredible experience to do that. And sort of I never knew that the sisterhood could exist in the way that it does for us. And it's not perfect. You and I are very different people,
Mhm.
and there's times of frustration, or times where we don't understand where each other's coming from, but there is always respect, there is always love, and there is always connection. And
Mhm.
that's the way within which we should exist. I love that.
Well, and I want to talk a little bit about that because, in creating the Who Are You Really Mastermind, the one focus, the non negotiable is the sisterhood, whether it's 5 women or 50 women, whether we're talking about phase 1 or phase 4, or we're working on our personal proclamation, whatever we're doing it in community. And what you said is it, you can't have perfection as a standard. It's actually like Tony Robbins says, perfection is actually the lowest standard you can try to quote unquote attain. What we
Yeah.
want to do is we want to be in community with other women as we do this important work of creating the life that we really love. So I want to drill down on the whole identity language, because I want to I want to sort of take that word a little bit out of it, but as I take it out of it, I want to explain it, because what we're really doing and what we've both done in the masterminds and the courses that we've created is we've created a system to move through these phases. You call them steps, I call them phases, but we're moving through them to with the end goal and the outcome of creating a life you truly love and feels aligned with who you truly are.
Mm.
So when we say identity work, and I'll let you explain if there's nuances to how you feel about it, but for me, when I say I am an identity coach, and when I say that I am an identity mastermind leader, what I mean by that is I am the guide that provides the tools, the strategies, the constructs, and the community to help women do the work to find their way home to their most authentic them. And then when
Yeah.
you do that, you build the life that you truly love. And then you take the next steps to have a compelling existence, to be growing, to be contributing, to have a life that juices you and gets you going and gets you excited, no matter how many days you have left on this earth. That's
Yeah.
what identity work means to me. But I wanted to hear a little bit about you, because we have differing approaches, but I think we have the same outcome.
Yeah, definitely. I think that for me, it's very much about a framework, because framework allows us to explore within a parameter that we feel safe.
Mhm.
It's not about all of a sudden just ripping it wide open and being vulnerable. Yes, there are elements of that within the program, of course, but there is a framework. And within that framework, you go through stripping back, revealing, and then developing. It's not like I was this person and now I'm this person. Wow, haven't I changed? Isn't it amazing? Life doesn't work like that. We're not a coin. You don't flip us and then all of a sudden we're on the other side. We are constantly evolving, and we take the good bits and we shed the bits that no longer serve us. And that's what identity creation is all about. But I prefer the term identity development, because I
Mm.
don't believe that we create a new identity. I believe that through experience, through understanding, we develop on
Mm.
to different phases within our lives. And I believe it's just like a natural shedding of our skin. And I think that these frameworks that we've created, whether it's the phases or the 5 steps of personal mastery, it allows us to, in a safe space, take the time, the tools, and the techniques to go through that process of growth and development without fear, without pressure, without judgment. And, if
Mhm.
you want to be a part of the community, and sure you can. If you want a camera off and you don't want to communicate, you can. However you want to show up, the space is there and we meet in that space. That space is sacrosanct and it is safe.
I love that. And you brought up something really important, and it's even making me reconsider the title of my course. And that's the beautiful thing. It's always evolving, because I think when you think of identity creation, like that really resonates with me, because I believe as we go through life, part of the intentionality is I get to create this life. And what is also true is that part of that creation, this might be just a language shift. Part of that identity creation is the development of what's already there. That's why I said, like, my passion is to be the guy that helps lead women home to their truest selves. And then once they really know who they are at their core, they can then create I really believe we can create a life and design a life we love. When I think back on what you said, it's like you've observed me changing and growing and evolving. I mean, the woman that I was when I started working on personal development in probably mid 2021, and the woman that's sitting here today is so radically different and more peaceful. And she's still, like you said at the beginning, she's still a work in progress. I got
Yeah.
some work to do. And that's where the development part comes in. And that's like an exciting term. And I love that. And I'm going to, of course, grab that and use that in my own course because we are developing. And I always tell people on this podcast, like the world needs what only you can provide. Like as Dawn Taylor is developing and changing and evolving and growing, like you'll be doing that until the day God calls you home.
Yeah.
And when I see
See,
people who stop doing that, it makes me really sad. Go ahead.
yeah. No. That is exactly it. And the one thing that I've learned over these last few years is until we take our last breath, we're constantly learning, developing, and growing. And
Mm,
even right now, there's a part of me inside that's like, oh my God, this is your first podcast and this is the best you can do. Quickly, Dawn, shrink back. Tell Christine to stop recording. Tell her we're going to have to delete this. Tell
mm,
her that we're going to have to, like, no, Dawn, no. We shouldn't be here. Stop it. And
mm,
inside, I'm having this internal battle right now to stop this
mm,
podcast recording, to shrink back into my little box and to sit there
mm,
and say nothing,
mm.
and I'm not going to do that. And I'm not also going to sit here in this podcast and tell people that I'm not having those thoughts because I am. This is the
Ugh.
first time that I host a podcast, but it's the first time I've ever been a guest and been asked about what I do for a living or whatever that is. So I'm right now very vulnerable. And it's made me realize that it's true. We're constantly vulnerable. And that's what happens when you're open to growth and you're open to development.
Okay, I'm gonna try not to cry, but they're grateful tears. And the reason they're grateful tears is what I want our listeners to hear is you're not listening to two women who have arrived and are here to speak from on high and be like, we got it all figured out, girls. We've done the work and we're good to go. Because honestly, as we're recording this podcast, and right before we hopped on, we had a conversation, and I'm sitting here going, I know this material works. I know I can teach it. I know it's going to be amazing, but I don't know how to market things. I have my own insecurities. And so at Girl Out of Order, we show up real, we show up raw, and we show up ready.
Mm.
And Dawn, you are showing up real. Thank you for being raw. That's not easy to admit. And you're ready to grow because life can sometimes send us some pretty crazy things. And I'll share a brief story. Last night, I was on a Zoom call with these incredible women, and they both live in Southern California. One of them in San Diego. So she's really super far from the fires. But the other gal that I was talking to, she's a multimillionaire. She's in Tony Robbins' Platinum program. And she's doing this Zoom call from the hotel that she's evacuated her family from, or evacuated her family to, excuse me. And she lives in the hills of LA. And she's having this conversation, and she's like a super duper badass. And she's obviously lives in a very beautiful home. And as we're having this call, you can start to hear the sirens go off. And just in that moment, she receives the news that a fire has sprouted up in her neighborhood, and it's too late for her to go back and get anything. And I'm watching this incredibly successful, very
Mm.
wealthy, brilliant, generous, kind soul now have to evacuate the hotel she's evacuated to.
Mm.
And the reason I share that is because it reminds me that we are all experiencing life. And it doesn't matter if you have millions and you've been doing this for decades, or like you and I, we're starting out teaching this work that has changed our lives.
Yeah.
When you show up real, raw, and ready, God and the universe comes in and to be like, now I can use you because you got out of the way of you.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you being willing to be so honest and vulnerable, because it's in that vulnerability that the
Mm,
real work and the real change and the lasting transformation happens.
yeah. There's so many misunderstandings about personal development. First of all, there's this idea that it's linear, there's a beginning, a middle, and an end. And it's
Mm,
not. You see,
yes.
once I'm not going to use the onion analogy. For the love of God's green earth, I am not doing it.
Sounds good.
But once you start to peel back, your layers, and you start to
Mhm.
understand more about yourself, you realize that you have more to offer. You realize that there's more within you. And one of the biggest aha moments and greatest moments is also one of the biggest challenges, and that is that it never stops. That actually there is so much more to life. There is more community, there is more connection, there is more pizzazz and gusto, there's more to take and grab hold of and taste and love and enjoy. And the more you realize that, the more you want. And so that was the biggest surprise to me out of all of it. Was I thought there was a beginning, a middle, and an end, and I realized that there isn't an end. There
Oh my
isn't.
gosh. What you
There
said
isn't.
is so important. And oh, I'm sorry, didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go. No.
Oh,
You
I
know
get
me.
I get
We'll
excited. You know
forever.
that, girl. But I'm so excited about what you said, because part of the emotions that I battle with, we all have what I call the shitty committee that sometimes just
Yeah,
rises up. Like the minute we take a chance, all of a sudden the shitty committee is like, "Ooh, there's
yeah.
our signal, time to go," and it comes flooding in. And that's happened to me since I announced this and I launched it, and women are signing up, and I'm like, I wish I wish I'd never done it, is the
Yeah.
thing. And I'm think, what kind of bullshit is that? And it's because when we step into that discomfort of taking our life to the next level, there's the panic zone that we want to run back to. But that's the beauty of what you just said. There is no beginning, middle, and end. It's these continual moving through from comfort zone through the panic zone, so you can get to the growth zone where the real change happens. Because when the real change happens, life starts to unfold. And like we talked about before we hopped on here, that you're getting through those clouds as the plane's taking off, and you're believing that there's blue skies up there, but you can't see them. But because you understand the process of growth, you know that if you get through those clouds, that sun and blue skies is waiting for you, and that next level of growth and contribution and connection is going to happen. But you can't stop. The only guarantee you're not going to get there is if you take the plane and we go back down and land.
Mhm.
And it's hard because it's uncomfortable.
Yeah. But and also that zone of growth is there's no end to that zone. Within that zone, there's another area. There's another area of fear. There's another area of development. There's another area of experience. There's another depth of connection and community. And so it's just constantly expanding. The only way I can explain it, and this is the beauty of it all, it's like the universe.
Mm-hmm.
Your personal development is infinite, literally infinite. Every time when you peel something back and explore something and experience something, there is something beyond that. And if you stop being fearful of that and lean into it, that is the true growth.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. I hope everybody was listening to every word Dawn just said, because something that occurred to me that, when you were talking, is this feeling that many women have, including myself. I'm too late.
Yeah.
It's too late. I
Mm,
missed out. I wish if I'd done this 10 years earlier, but now I'm in my 50s, 60s, 70s, and it's just too late. So can you
yeah.
speak to that woman who is considering joining Who Are You Really, and creating a beautiful identity that she's excited about, or considering joining Personal Mastery and taking these steps of personal and identity development, but her voice in her head says, "You missed the boat, sister. Hang it up. This is all you get."
Sit down. This is not for you. You know what I mean? Sit down. Just be quiet. Don't make any noise. People are looking at you. Stop it. You're too old. You're too wrinkly. You're too fat. You know what I mean? What are you wearing those clothes for? Don't say that. Don't go there. You know, this is not you for you anymore now. Life's not for you anymore now. And that's how we feel. And in particular, when women go through menopause as well, there is huge identity shifts that happen, not because we are driving it and not because we are controlling it and we want it, but because our body starts to bring it upon us.
Mhm.
And so women who have, sort of experienced the shifts that I have are not just going through the growth that they're bringing for themselves, but also they're being forced into periods of growth by their body. And that makes us want to shrink back even more. No, 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 no. Oh my gosh, no. Sit down now. Definitely not now. Your dry skin and your craggy hands. No, 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 no. Don't embarrass yourself.
Yeah,
It's
so
awful.
and yes, I think that's a pain point for a lot of women, whether it's the woman who's gone through a divorce or
Mm,
has been told you're never going to have a child, your body isn't designed for that, or she's, was working in a job she really loved, lost that job, and now she's trying to reestablish herself. So, my question to you is very simple but extremely profound. How does personal mastery, who are you really? How does this identity development, how does that address that? I mean, why is it for that woman who is thinking it's too late? Like what can this work do for her?
mm. I think, first of all, it's about thinking about the term it's too late. Too late for what? A predefined goal that you set how many years ago? A predefined goal that society put on you? A predefined goal that came from where? Social norms, social constructs that came from where? That are dated back to when? You
Mhm.
know, I think one of the greatest things that we can do is realize that we'll never get back to who we were. Why? Because that's not who we are. We are who we are right now. And there's an incredible beauty and an incredible joy in that. And the second that we start to realize that there is so much more in front of us. We are not the only one. There are men, women, and people who identify out there who are literally in the same position, who have the same thoughts, the same feelings, the same desires, the same needs that we have, but they're just sat back, too
Mhm.
afraid to step forward. And that's why I talk about the moral obligation.
Mm.
The sooner that we step forward, the sooner we'll find other people who have stepped forward, and then we can connect and make bigger communities. So for me, it's about people, or I'm not going to speak for people, it's about myself understanding that we can't go back. I don't want to go back. I'm not that person anymore. I'm me. And there is so many opportunities out there for my wisdom, for my joy, for my
Mhm.
love, for my passion. And as long as I don't hide that, then there is so much future. And shine bright, because people will come and their light will bring other people. We don't own community, we facilitate its growth.
Yeah, I love that. And I love, you know, whether you're that woman who has looked at her investments and think, I missed the boat. I didn't put the money away and now here I am in my 50s and it's too late. Or you're that woman who has, can't run anymore because your knees are shot because you didn't take care of your health. Or you're that woman whose marriage maybe is intact, but it's on life support. It is never, ever too late. In fact, it's not too late until you're literally at your own funeral. And what I would say to that woman out there who's listening, if that's you, you're talking to two menopausal women. But that doesn't mean that we don't understand where you're at, whether you're menopausal or not. Doesn't matter. What we understand is that you get one gorgeous, beautiful, big, wild life to live. What are
Yeah.
you gonna do with it? So, and who are you really? I can tell you as we walk through the 5 phases of identity creation or development, we acknowledge where we are. We don't bullshit. Okay, get real, be honest, but also give yourself grace. We then move into awareness where we pull back, like Dawn said, the layers of sediment and beliefs and crap that is keeping you stuck, small, and discouraged or depressed. And then we rewire that and we try on some new beliefs and we dance with life's complexities and we realize that life is a dance, that life is an adventure. No matter if you're 70 or 17, life is an adventure. And when you rewire those beliefs and what you believe about identity and about who you are and about life, things start to change. And then we get fun. We get into the design phase for, I mean, Dawn can speak to her own, but for me, the design phase is about engaging the left and the right brain and creating a beautiful poetic proclamation of who this woman is, because your brain doesn't know the difference between what you manifest and what's real. So why not take advantage of that and design a life, an identity, a mission, a purpose that lights you up and hits your feet on the floor and you're like, yes, today's the day. And then we go into the evolution phase where we get practical and
Yeah.
tactical, and we take this beautiful, gorgeous proclamation and we put it into a plan and we put it into a schedule and we create momentum and action. And then we go into the momentum phase where we talk about lifelong learning. And this is where Dawn was getting fired up. We are never, ever done learning, growing, changing, transforming, and creating unless we decide to be.
Yeah.
And that's the joy of who are you really and personal mastery. That's the joy of this work. So Dawn, as we come to a close here today, what do you want? I've got one final question that I'm going to hang on to, but what do you want women to know about personal mastery and why this important work may be for them?
I think the key is that when you're looking for a community, when you're looking, or if you're looking for a system, a process, a structure, a framework to evolve through, I think it's really important that you consider the steps, because see it for what it is, not worse. Okay, please don't get involved with the growth process and start lambasting yourselves. Oh, it's terrible, and start counting how little you have or how much you've lost or what you'll never have. Okay, there is a beauty in who you already are. And this is
Mm,
part of an evolution. It's part of growing and developing as a human being. So personal mastery is about how can we see life for what it is, see life for what it could be, and evolve, develop, grow into that through steady support, guidance, and community. Nothing is gate kept, nothing
mm.
is owned. All there is just an opportunity, 6 or 7 weeks, however long it is a sure but steady way within which you can unravel and move forward in a space where it is safe, and a space where you can make the decisions in regards to what it is that you want to be and where it is that you want to go.
I love that. And I wanted to highlight one thing before I give Dawn our final question. Her program's 6 weeks, my program's 7 weeks. But what makes it so powerful is that spaced repetition, that week after week, our programs build on each other. The goal isn't to keep you taking this course one time after another, after another, after another. The goal is to give you this spaced repetition so you can stack this incredible learning, growing, and transformation on top of each other. So when you get to the end, you have that momentum phase, you go out into this world and you make the difference that only you are designed to make. Because I can already think of the women who have already signed up for my course. And I wake up in the morning and I think about them. I go to night and I think about bed at night and I think about them, because I know that these women are in this world for a very specific purpose that is unique to them. So I love what you said about you are beautiful, powerful, and unlimited as you are. It's just about uncovering it, developing it, and unleashing it. And I love that. So I've got one final question for you so we can wrap up here. And it's a question I ask all my guests. I shamelessly ripped it off from Jen Hatmaker's podcast because it's such a beautiful question from the poet Barbara Brown Taylor. And you can answer it however you want. What is saving your life right now?
Community and the sisterhood. You and I both know that 2024 was very challenging for a lot of people, including ourselves.
Mhm.
And it's the sisterhood and its community that has kept me grounded, has kept me focused, and is keeping me moving forward. It is you all that is stopping me from shrinking back and allowing everything we achieved last year to dissolve because I've gone right back to the beginning and feel worthless. So that is it. It is the sisterhood and community.
I love that. I love that. And so the Who Are You Really Mastermind starts on February 4th. Registration's open now. All of the links will be in the show notes. And I'm going to let Dawn just finish really quickly and talk about when personal mastery starts. So why don't you just tell our audience really briefly when your program starts and how they can get in touch with you. And all of the information for Dawn will be in the show notes.
Yeah, as she said, the links below will be to the Personal Mastery website where you can sign up for the wait list for the program. The wait list is there ready for you to sign up. We are launching in May. It's a 6-week program, so you can sign up now. The window will be open for 3 weeks, and I look forward to seeing you all then. Whether you're from Europe, we'll be on a European time zone, or anywhere across the world, all are welcome.
I love it. All right. Thank you so much, my friend. I appreciate you showing up here for our Girl Out of Order community.
Okay, see, we keep it real.
We got to keep it real. If you're watching this on YouTube, she hit her microphone because this is what we do. We do real life here on the Girl Out of Order podcast, and that's why we're so amazing. All right. Thank you, Dawn.
Bye, guys.
Yay! How'd that feel?
Yeah, I got really thrown at the beginning when you asked me about what I did for a living. I was like, oh my God, I wasn't ready for that for some reason.
And you know what?
Um,
That's exactly why I do it.